Hey everyone, it's Doodle, and I know it's been like a seriously long time since I've done a Doodle Days, and I apologize for that, but this is like the first time I've had the opportunity to record another video. So a couple of weeks ago, I had told 3 people that I was going to answer questions for them, and I haven't been able to do so yet, but I'm doing it now. The questions were all pretty much, in a way, the same, but they're asking about different specific things. So I'm just going to go through each of the questions individually because I think it's easier to answer that way, and then if I have anything else I want to add, I'll just add it at the end. So Barbara asked me, how much work does it take to keep up a review blog like yours? Do you find yourself taking time away from other activities to maintain it? For my blog, before I started a job and whatnot, before I had this semesters with the classes, it didn't take all that much for me to keep it up. It was just a matter of reading books constantly, writing up reviews, typing them into my laptop, making sure they're all up, ready to go. It really didn't take much to make sure each of my posts were up. But now, to answer your second half of that question about taking time away from other activities, I do. Right now work is more important than the blog because I have to be somewhere at a specific time and I'm getting money and whatnot. So making sure I'm ready for work, I'm at work, that's a big thing. But I have stopped reading as much as I was reading, but I'm not going to say it's taken away from other activities because I still go to classes, usually. I've never really studied for tests, so it's not a big deal, but I do now on occasion find myself being like, hey, I can't go out, I've got to finish this review book. Because I've signed up for so many tours, and all the tours are books that have come out that I've been dying to read, and I figured I want to read it, I'll read it. So I do find myself now taking time out, but I think that's mostly because I've scheduled myself so many tours and I've put myself in this position. So I guess it's a choice to take myself away from other activities by doing that, but I don't see myself taking away because I want to take away from a situation. I want to read the books. So I think I kind of answered that question. I hope I answered that question as best as I could. Yes and no, I guess, that last part. Then Cordelia asked, how time-consuming is blogging? You do so much on your blog that it seems to be a full-time job just to think up new events. It is a full-time job. I feel right now like I've got 3 full-time jobs. I really honestly do. It is time-consuming, just making sure I'm reading all the books, making sure I've got posts up and ready to go. Over the past 2 or 3 weeks, I haven't been on top of things, but I told you guys I wasn't going to be on top of things, and that's because I started a new job. I'm trying to figure out my balance now between work, play, school, and reading, and it's definitely getting difficult. Just thinking up new things to do on the blog. Trying to write some of these reviews is really hard, and I mean, that in itself is a full-time job. I spend a good 40 hours a week probably reading and doing stuff on the blog, and then I have another 40 hours I have for my bartending job, and then I'm in classes 2 days a week. So it's definitely time-consuming, but it's not something I don't want to do. It's something I want to do, and I make time for it. So saying it's time-consuming, yes, it's a true story, but I like that it's time-consuming. It takes, I don't know, I like being able to read my books, making sure I find time to read my books, and I guess if you want to call it time-consuming, you can call it time-consuming, but I enjoy what I do. Bartending and reading, and then classes on occasion. Classes are actually mostly boring. And then Adriana, at I Hear It, I Read It, she said, I have seen and read the reviews you make, and I was wondering, how do you have time to read and review so much when you work and go to school? What's your secret? I'm not doing a really good job right now of reading, reviewing, going to work and school right now. I was doing a good job the first week I was bartending, but that was only because I was only in for maybe 3 hours every night, and now I'm in from 7:30 p.m. until 2, 3, 4 in the morning. But how do I have so much time to read and review? I do a lot of reading on campus. I have classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I normally get to my first class about an hour early because we have the PRT, so personal rapid transit, which is more like a personally personal rapid transit that tends to break down frequently. So it's only kind of reliable, so I try and make sure I'm downtown to my class with like an hour or so beforehand. I give myself time to where if the PRT breaks down, I've got a little bit of time where if I had to walk, I could walk it. But, you know, I've got that hour before classes start, then I've got my 15, 20 minutes in between each of my classes where I've got time to read. I've got a 2-hour break between 2 of my classes, and then, you know, I read whenever I can. I'm walking to class, I'm reading. I'm sitting in my class on occasion and reading because the lecture's really boring or I already know what they're talking about. But, you know, that, I try and get as much reading done on campus as I can. And I have my review notebook with me, so I'm reviewing books as I go. You know, I put reading in wherever I can now that I've got my job, or I'd be reading at night now. I have actually read while on the job. There are a couple of slow nights, like Wednesdays are normally really slow, so we're normally don't have people in the bar until 11 or 12 at night. So I'm sitting there on the counter, and they don't care what we do as long as whenever someone comes in, we put our phones away. So I'm sitting there reading a book on my phone. And, you know, if I can do it that way, then it's fine. I don't have issues listening to really loud music and reading, as long as it's not music that I like, which is most of the stuff that we play at the bar. Yeah, I cannot stand club music. I don't listen to anything mainstream. But, yeah. So, my secret then to, like, juggling everything, I have a Google Calendar that has everything, like, all my posts that I'm planning to make scheduled, and I make sure I start, like, review books maybe a week or two before they're due. Right now I've got 2 more books for next weekend that I have to read still. But I have been pretty good recently of being ahead of the game and making sure I've got everything done. I have been reading books that I specifically, like, bought for myself. So those are on the back burner until I have, like, a little bit of a lapse. But I have a calendar. I try and keep 2 weeks ahead of everything. And read whenever I can. That's the big thing. If I'm sitting in traffic and I know I'm going to be sitting in traffic, I pull out my phone, I pull out my Kindle, and I start reading. I know that sounds really bad because you're not supposed to have your phone out and driving, but if I'm sitting in traffic, moving nowhere, then I pretty much put my car in park and just read. And no one's ever said anything to me. I've had a cop drive by me while I'm reading a book in, like, traffic and doesn't say anything. It's totally cool. So yeah, just make sure I've got everything scheduled ahead of time, make sure posts are up and ready to go. There have been a few nights where I haven't had time to make the post before I go to work, so it's like first thing I get home from work before I do anything else. Before I take my makeup off, before I put my stuff, like my clothes together, go over to a friend's house or something, it's like I get on my computer, type the post up, and publish it as soon as I get home. And that's pretty much what I've been doing. So, I guess an overall thing about the blog is it's not, like, I've seen a lot of blogs where they're posting reviews every day, and I honestly don't know how they do it. I know some people are stay-at-home moms, and that's how they swing it. And honestly, I cannot read a book a day. It's a goal to read a book a day, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. But a lot of it's just staying on top of things, staying ahead of things. If you get something done early, make sure you do it on the blog then so you don't forget to do it later. If you want to read a book for, like, a tour, schedule it. Make sure you've got all your dates done and down correctly. Start it at least 2 weeks early. I think that's all I can pretty much say. So that in a nutshell is how I run my blog, how I've been running my blog. I'm working on getting back into the swing of things and making sure I'm posting 3 or 4 reviews a week like I have been. It just hasn't been going on much the past couple of weeks. I've got to learn how to make certain drinks. I have tests at work, and I've got school, I've got papers to write, but beyond that, it's not bad. So it's just a matter of multitasking and, you know, staying on top of everything and ahead of the game. So that's it for this episode of Doodle Days. I do plan on making at least 2 more really, really soon. So you guys, I found those throughout the week, I guess. Yeah, so I'll see you guys very, very soon. Doodles out.